All right. So, uh, Trump had already said that it made on the money that has already been given to them. So let's see if they landed any specifics about the work. U.S. and Ukraine reportedly working on mineral revenue deal. Like 2 weeks ago, I want to say Trump said it only made sense for us to benefit from their natural resources. We have given them so much capital. So let's see what they talking about and what they worked out, if anything.
Back now with this, sources tell ABC News Ukraine and the U.S. are working on a new potential deal that would give the Ukraine's minerals.
Tension has been building between President Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky after U.S.'s initial offer. And a Ukrainian official says that first off security by the U.S. and ABC Washington with more.
Yes, that's Ukraine.
Sources tell President Volodymyr Zelensky's team is working on a new agreement with the U.S. that will give the U.S. revenue from some of their natural resources. A Ukrainian official described
us the promise that we'll step in like in a combative manner if there is another invasion
in progress. It comes after Ukraine rejected the U.S.'s first offer last week. Would have given the U.S. 50% of revenue from sources forever, without any promise of.
Here's the bottom line. President Zelensky is going to sign that.
National Security Advisor Mike Waltz at the conservative political.
Could you have for Ukraine than to be in an economic partnership with the United States, number one, the killing, number two. And you know what? We have an obligation to all, the American taxpayer, hundreds of billions of dollars that have been invested in this war.
Trump has intensified his rhetoric on starting the war with Russia and falsely calling Zelensky a dictator.
Zelensky have a country left.
Zelensky then accusing Trump of living in a Russian yesterday, saying a part of the Trump administration's frustration, rejecting the U.S.'s initial offer on mineral resources. U.S. envoy to Ukraine Keith Kellogg is in Kyiv.
What does Ukrainian formal wear look like, dog?
Zelensky says that meeting restored hope. He says economic interests and security interests should always go hand in hand.
Mom, check. And a sweater, dog, and some car. Every time I see this, man, I'm like, what does professional attire look like in Ukraine?
A Ukrainian official says it was after that meeting between Kellogg and Zelensky started working on an updated agreement. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
Well, there you have it. It doesn't seem like there are too many more details on what this deal is potentially going to look like. So I guess.
Back to the White House briefing, Stephen Miller just
from the media to deport as many illegal aliens.
Yeah, I'm not about to watch that. This thing says flying car inches closer to reality.
Advances in automotive tech. One issue only seems to be getting worse: gridlocked traffic. But this Silicon Valley startup says the solution comes from the nation.
You can actually use it today. You can cut your commute at least in half, if not more.
Company Aleph Aeronautics was able to create something we've been dreaming about since the Jetsons.
We're trying to make science fiction a reality.
And while not quite ready for the road, Duchovny says the flying car is about to take off. NBC News was given exclusive concept model with our own eyes.
Thing goes smoothly. I'm going to watch a car fly out.
Sure enough, we watched it soar through the air over another car and land. But for all the magic of this moment, we were heavily restricted,
heavy is
forced to
that
shoot at least
vehicle?
half a football field away, and we never actually saw the driver entering or exiting the vehicle.
Put no driver in
all
it.
the way there, yeah. You know, you wouldn't let me in the cockpit. Yeah, there's a difference between you and the consumers. We still have some IP, intellectual
He would
property,
be
which
one
we're
of the
trying to protect.
consumers.
So far, more than 3,200 early adopters have $1,000 all-electric flying car. And the company is aiming to begin production by next year. But practicality might be where the
That
rubber
just
meets
looks
the
so
sky.
funny.
Only a few countries allow for the kind of road-to-air reality Duchovny envisions.
It's going to be an approach which is good for legal integration, which is good for consumer integration.
Says as demand grows,
Will
catch up
way.
with tech, for it's still that cutting-edge pie in the sky. Steve Patterson, NBC News, Silicon Valley.
Thanks for watching.
How much is it like? That's my biggest question. For it to be up in the air like that, light. I mean, I guess planes fly and they're not light, but not the size of a plane. Oh, I don't know. I'm just thinking like cars are super heavy. So to make this like consumer priced, like the aviation, I don't know, dog. It's just 300,000. I guess 300,000 isn't consumer. It's like you go get a Beamer for like 8 bands. So, all right, cool, whatever. Interesting. I don't know if I trust it. It's gonna take me like 3 years of having them on the road, getting in that boy. I wouldn't trust it. But all right, this is Where's Grilly? I think I've seen her before, and she's funny. She's a bit of a smart ass.
The campaign in 2024 said the following about illegal immigration. He said, they're going back along, and we start with the criminals. There are many, many criminals. NBC News has learned that ICE arrested 1,179 undocumented immigrants on Sunday, but nearly half of them, 566 of the migrants, appear to have no prior criminal record besides entering the country illegally. Is the president still focused? It's not criminal.
It's a federal crime.
So I'm asking, though, he said he was going to focus on those violent offenders first. So is violent offenders no longer the predicate for these people to be deported?
The president has said countless times, I've been with him at the rallies, I know you've been there covering them too, Peter, that he is focused on launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history of illegal criminals. And if you are an individual, a foreign national who illegally enters the United States of America, you are, by definition, a criminal. Or you are subject
So what she's saying is that entering the country illegally is you are now a criminal.
Interrupting. So to be clear, it's not violent criminals do not receive precedence in terms of the deportations taking
The
place.
president has also said two things can be true at the same time. We want to deport illegal criminals, illegal immigrants from this country, but the president has said that, of course, the illegal criminal drug dealers, the rapists, the murderers, the individuals who have committed heinous acts on the interior of our country and who have terrorized law-abiding American citizens, absolutely, those should be the priority of ICE, but that doesn't mean that the other illegal criminals who entered our nation's borders are off the table.
Understood. Then let me ask you a separate question about the confusion that still exists across the country right now as it relates to the freeze or the pause as it's described. President Trump, of course, ran one of the key policy items was that he was going to lower prices, lower the cost of everything from groceries, as he often said. But in many of the cases, it would seem that some of these moves could raise prices for real Americans on everything from low-income heating, that program, child care programs. Will nothing that the president's doing here in terms of the freeze in these programs raise prices on ordinary? I'm referring to LHEAP right now. That's the low-income heating program, for example. We can talk about, there's no clarity, so I could refer to a lot of them. We don't know what they are specifically. Can you tell us that LHEAP, that LIHEAP is not one of those affected?
So you're asking a hypothetical based on programs that you can't even identify. What I can tell you is that
since you guys haven't identified, let's do it together just for Americans at home. Medicaid, Is that affected?
I gave you welfare benefits,
Medicaid?
food stamps that will not be impacted after this briefing from the Office of Management and Budget. But I do want to address the cost cutting because that's certainly very important and cutting the cost of living in this country. President Trump has past week to do that. He actually signed a memorandum to deliver emergency price relief for American.
Part of the reason it's historic is so much stuff at one time. He's did more, executive orders in the first week than any other president had been doing or has done in the past. So just the fact that he did more than any other president already makes it historical. This thing to happen because it broke history.
Families, which took a number of actions. I can walk you through those. The onerous Biden administration regulations. We know over the past 4 years, American households has been essentially taxed $55,000 in regulations. Administration, President Trump with his pen rescinded those, which will ultimately put more money back in the pockets of the American people. And then when it comes to energy, I mean, they didn't sign an executive order to declare a national energy emergency here at home, which is going to make America energy dominant. We know that of inflation. And so that's why the president wants to increase our energy supply to bring costs for Americans. The Trump energy boom is incoming, and Americans can expect that.
Please share that. Thank you.
Caroline, I think some of the confusion I think may be here with this pause on federal funding. You've made it clear you're not stopping funds. There certainly are lots of organizations that receive funding and then may pass along a benefit. Meals on Wheels, they provide meals for over 2.2 million seniors. What is the president's message to Americans out there, many of whom supported him and voted for him, are concerned that this is going to impact them directly, even if, as you said, the funding isn't coming directly to their wallet?
I have now hand to individuals at home who receive direct assistance from the federal government. You will not be increased. In fact, OMB just sent out a memo to Capitol Hill with Q&A to clarify some of the questions and the answers that all of you are asking me right now. Again, direct assistance will not be impacted. I've been asked and answered about this OMB memo. There's many other topics of the day.
But direct assistance, Caroline.
Direct assistance that is in the hands of the American people will not be impacted. Again, as I said to Peter, we will continue to provide that list as it comes to fruition. But OMB right now is focused on analyzing the federal government, which is exactly what the American people elected President Trump to do.
And one question on immigration. Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back to office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals. The administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are. If they broke our nation's laws, yes, they are a criminal. Yes.
Thank you. On stripping security details for figures like John Bolton, Pompeo, Brian Hook, Senator Tom Cotton said that he's seen the intelligence and is real for anyone who played a role in the Soleimani strike. He voiced concern it wouldn't just impact those individuals, but potentially their family, innocent bystanders, friends, anyone who's near them when they're out in public. Is the president open to reconsidering his decision?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday, and he was firm in his decision despite some of the comments that you had referenced. And he's made it very clear that he does not believe American taxpayers should fund security details for individuals who have served in government for the rest of their lives. And there's nothing stopping these individuals that you mentioned from obtaining private security. That's where the president stands on it. I have no updates on that.
Is there any concern that this decision might jeopardize the administration's ability to hire the best advisors for these kinds of positions in the future?
No, in fact, I've talked to the Presidential Personnel Office, who has told me directly that there is such an influx of resumes for this administration that it's incredibly overwhelming. There is no lack of talent for the Trump administration. Reagan Reed.
Would he take any responsibility if anything happened to these people? Would he feel at all that his decision was a factor in that?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday. I defer you to his comments. Reagan, since you're in the back row, I hear you. The back row hasn't gotten much attention in the last 4 years, so I'm happy to answer your question.
I can project. Does the president intend to permanently cut off funding to NGOs that are bringing illegal foreign nationals to the country, such as Catholic Charities?
I am actually quite certain that the president signed an executive order that did just that, and I can point you to that.
One more, Caroline. President Trump issued an executive order on increased vetting for refugees in visa applications. Part of that order was considering an outright ban for countries that have deficient screening processes. Has the president considered yet which countries might fall into this category, or countries like Afghanistan or Syria under consideration for a full ban?
Yeah, so the president signed an executive order to streamline the vetting for visa.
That's actually one that I'm interested in hearing the answer to. She's trying to get straight to the point. I'm not gonna lie, all those people in the room asking you questions, on one hand I get it, but you be stabbing at these people trying to bite their heads off.
Applicants and for illegal immigrants in this country who are coming, of course, from other nations. It also directed the Secretary of State to review the process and make sure that other countries around the world are being completely transparent with our nation and the individuals that they are sending here. And so the Secretary of State has been directed to report back to the president. I haven't seen that report yet. We've only been here for a few days.
One on the freeze in federal funding. Who advised the president on the legality of telling government agencies that they don't have to spend money that was already appropriated by Congress?
Well, as the OMB memo states, this is certainly within the confines of the law. So White House counsel's office believes that this is within the president's power to do it, and therefore he's doing it.
Okay, so they disagree with lawmakers who say that they don't have the power to freeze this funding.
Again, I would point you to the language in the memo that clearly states this is within the law.
And all that happened on Friday night. The administration fired several inspectors general without giving Congress the 30-day legally required notification that they were being fired. I think only 2 were left at DHS and the DOJ. And then yesterday we saw several prosecutors, I believe 12, fired from the Justice Department who worked on the investigations into the president. As you know, they are career prosecutors, therefore they are afforded civil service protections. How is the administration deciding which laws to follow and which ones to ignore?
So it is the belief of this White House and the White House counsel's office that the president was within his executive authority to do that. He is the executive of the executive branch, and therefore he has the power to fire anyone within the executive branch that he wishes to.
She stumbled a little bit on that part because she knew that was a little bit of BS right there. Like, yes, executive of the executive branch, but there are checks and bounds. And like the woman just pointed out, these officials were elected for life. So what? I know they was super shocked when they got the notice.
There's also a case that went before the Supreme Court in 2020, Scala Law LLC versus the Customs, Bureau Protection. I would advise you to look at that case, and that's the legality that this White House was resting on.
So you're confident that if they bring lawsuits against you, the prosecutors who were fired, that they will succeed?
We will win in court,
And
yes.
did he personally direct this, given they worked on the classified documents investigation and the election interference investigation?
This was a memo that went out by the Presidential Personnel Office, and the president is the leader of this White House. So yes, yes.
Caroline.
Sure.
Thank you. Congrats on your first day behind the podium.
Thank you.
President Trump ended funding for UNRWA and also designated the Houthis a foreign terrorist organization.
That's right.
Both were decisions that the previous administration had reversed. So here's my question. Will there be an investigation into who gave the previous administration this terrible advice?
Well, that's a very good point. I haven't heard discussions about such an investigation, but it wouldn't be a bad idea considering that the Houthis certainly are terrorists. They have launched attacks on U.S. naval ships across this world, and so I think it was a very wise move by this administration to redesignate them as a terrorist group, because they are, and I think it was a foolish decision by the previous administration to do so. As for an investigation, I'm not sure about that, but it's not a bad idea. Josh.
Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Can you give us an update on the president's plans for his tariff agenda? He spoke a lot about this yesterday, and there's a couple of dates coming up. He's spoken to, number one, February 1st. He's alluded to both the potential for tariffs for Canada and Mexico, but also China those days. What's he thinking about that?
Yeah.
Should those countries expect that?
Again, he was asked and answered this question this past weekend when he took a lot of questions from the press, and he said that the February 1st date for Canada and Mexico still holds.
What about the China 10% tariff that he also had used about last Tuesday going into effect on the same day?
Yeah, the president has said that he is very much still considering that for February 1st.
Separately, yesterday he talked also about sectoral tariffs on, for instance, pharmaceuticals as well as semiconductor computer chips. He talked about steel, aluminum, and copper. What's the timeline on those? Is that a similar sort of coming 9 days thing?
Yeah, so when the president talked about that in his speech yesterday, that actually wasn't a new announcement. That was within a presidential memorandum that he signed in one of the first days here in the White House on his America First trade agenda. So there's more details on those tariffs in there. As far as a date, I don't have a specific date to read out to you, but the president is committed to implementing tariffs effectively, just like he did in his first term.
So yeah, anything that is coming from here is liable to have a tariff on it, dog. And anything coming in from anywhere else is liable to have a tariff. I said just be prepared for it from anything.
Guys, I'm about to cash a check for a
Thank you for showing up.
What is this?
Y'all give these y'all's tax money.
It's right here. Everybody president, ain't it? Everybody love Obama. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Everybody love Obama, baby. At least that's what I thought. I thought everybody was for Obama. All right, so here we have it. Obama officially busted by feds. This is clickbait. I'm sorry, I didn't read this whole thing. I'm gonna play it, but let's see. I don't believe this.
Thank you for showing up. Back in 2011, about 250 members of the surprise Tea Party came to me and asked me to investigate President Obama's birth certificate, since they believed evidence showed that the certificate was a fraud.
What's up, guys? We're back with another Famous Focus video today, and that's right, you heard that correctly. President Obama is caught. After 14 years of intense investigation, they have now come to the conclusion that Obama digitally forged his birth certificate in order to be accepted in the running of the President of the United States.
But we were going to investigate a possible government forged document. Hope you get that straight. I've been saying that from day one since 2011.
So not that it
Today
didn't come from the American government, but that it was forged by the American
executive
government.
summary of our investigation into the matter, which we now have concluded to be a fraudulently created document, which has been represented as an official copy of the original birth certificate of President Obama.
So Obama has been caught not only in 4K, but by the feds. This man, and you're going to see right here shortly, he had a female, I guess with similar amount of letters in her name, so that they could still have forms that were similar looking and then go on a computer and take her name and slide it over into Obama's. And then there was many stamps with forensic evidence. You'll see a breakdown here, guys. I just want to give you an idea of what you're going to see before they break it down. And then finally, guys, if you could, just like and share the video just to get the word around for the Patriots that are enjoying these videos. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for the love. Enjoy the last part of the segment. Have a great rest of your day.
You are looking at 2 long-form birth certificates from the state of Hawaii. According to the dates on the certificates, these births took place in Honolulu during the month of August of 1961, just 16 days apart. The birth certificate on the left belongs to Barack Obama. The birth certificate on the right belongs to Johanna Ani. After 5 years of intense investigation, which included consultation with one of America's most respected forensic document examiners and a team of European media forensic experts, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has reached a conclusion utilizing forensic techniques both old and new. It is the opinion of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office that the birth certificate on your right belonging to Johanna Ani was in fact used as a source document in the digital creation of Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate. 9 points of forgery in which words, letters, and hand-placed date stamps have been digitally copied from the Ani long-form birth certificate and pasted onto Obama's long-form birth certificate. We'll look at the first 5 points of forgery together, since they were brought over from the Ani document.
I wish this video looked a little bit better. I really wish the clarity on this was way better.
Now let's drop out the Ani document as a background and view that again.
I don't understand.
Now let's look at the date stamps in box 20 and 22. In this case, the stamps were brought over one at a time. But as we do this experiment, ask yourself, what are the odds that 2 stamps in 2 separate boxes, stamped by hand 16 days apart, would have the exact same angle in box 20 and the exact same angle in box 22?
How did they find this Joannie lady's birth certificate? Like, that's a good point. It's a hand-pressed seal
Now the right
stamp.
stamp. It should be pointed out that these stamps were looked at by 2 separate document examiners who specialize in 2 separate forensic disciplines and who reside on 2 different continents. Both agree that these angles are identical on both the Obama document and the Ani document.
I'm gonna say this. I will say this though. They didn't have 14 years to search everything and find something. So the fact that somebody's documents match the stamps, you feel me? There's millions of people. But I guess with that being the case, there's millions of people that the name signature and the amount of letters also, I don't know. This is kind of interesting, but I also feel like it's a bit of a stretch, dog. That's it? Yeah, man, that's crazy. This is not clickbait. That was clickbait. It's all get out, because I don't know. That didn't convince me. I'm already a firm believer that man was American. I believe he was American in my book. Now, him being the best president, you know what I mean? Him being the most I believe that there was a lot of corruption going on at the same time. Like, my man's hit the detonate button more than most presidents ever do. You feel me? But we didn't talk about that. There's a lot of stuff that I will stand here and talk about that will possibly look at the credibility of the man that was our president. But am I going to say that he wasn't born in America? I don't know. I feel like that was a stretch by people who just didn't want him to be our president.